Like Crazy movie review 2011. Basically, this movie is based on the director's own experiences, and it traces the genesis, the passion, and the heartache of a romance. Basically, it's between an American college student, Jacob, played by Anton Yelchin, and a young woman, Anna, played by Felicity Jones, who's come to America from the UK and is on a student visa, and the setting is in LA. So let's give a little look to it. Director is Drake Doremus, who also responsible for the writing, alongside colleague Ben York Jones. As I say, those two protagonists. It also stars a very young Jennifer Lawrence as Sam, and flicking down the rest of the cast, there's no names that jump out at me at all. The film begins in a classroom where we see Anna giving a presentation to her fellow students. The topic is the impact the internet has on social relationships, with the arrival of platforms such as MySpace, and how it's affected how people interact with each other. Clearly, eye contact between Anna and Jacob is almost obsessional, and she then leaves a note on his windscreen of his car, which provokes a call, which then leads to a meeting, and then we have a getting to know you phase, where all the awkwardness of starting a relationship is evident. They share a little about their lives. He's an only child, and his father died when he was 10. She's an only child, but her parents are very close to her. And then one thing moves to the next. It's all pretty typical of how college relationships might begin, I guess. There's a nice piece of solo piano which enables the director to catch glimpses of situations and activities which build on the sort of affection between the two as they grow sort of together, with lots of images of joy and delight at being together. Those early seeds, of course, of a relationship where everything is magical. It's very well done. We then have a scene after they've obviously made love, and the prickly issue of a student visa running out comes, and she tells Jacob that she's going to get a work visa and come back quickly. Those last few days, they try to convince each other that Anna will be back soon and the time will fly, and they're getting more and more emotionally aware of separation. And what it could feel like the sharing of presents before departure. He gets her a bracelet. She gets him a book which she's put together, combining entries written by her about events that they've shared together, coupled with photographs that were taken. It's all building up to that emotional sort of feeling of emptiness when they say goodbye. She then overstays the visa. Then we spring forward to when she comes back and wants to re-entry on a tourist visa, and the violations spotted at customs, and that's when the problems start developing. Oh, isn't it lovely? Bureaucracy at work. The two try to readjust. Work takes on board, becomes their life, but the emotional sort of pain is clear to be seen, and we see Anna at a party, and she's getting slightly drunk, but she's caught in a chat up with a guy, but it's clear that she's not really there. She's still with Jacob, and she feels a loss. And we see him at work, and he's sort of going through the motions, really, trying to sort of convince himself that, oh well, it was just a fleeting romance and let's move on, trying to convince himself of that, but he's clearly not able to detach from the euphoria that he experienced with Anna. Jacob comes to the UK, and once again there's that sort of euphoric sort of feeling of being together, but as time wears on, social situations where Anna meets her friends, work colleagues, Jacob sees a glimpse of her life and feels somewhat sort of outside of all of that. And this is the problem when you try to recreate a sort of holiday romance amidst the day-to-day mundanity of going to work, coming home, social, family, blah 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 blah. It's an interesting sort of extension of that. Okay, it was an educational visa, but the same sort of issues are presented. It's a temporary relationship. Earlier in LA, Anna's parents visited, and once again we see a sort of dinner party, all positive. It's now reciprocated with Jacob's arrival at their home, but Anna's mother starts to read between the lines, and it's basically trying to get a sense of reality into the equation. You know, are they going to continue to commute, to have a relationship, or is the decision going to be made where one permanently moves the other. Anu. Interesting. There's a very touching scene where they're in a park just prior to him going back to LA, and at the visit to Anna's parents, the prickly issue of marriage to resolve all this visa issues came up, and it's returned to briefly by Anna in the park. The question is, was posed as whilst apart, are either of them actually available to others, to develop relationships with others? And of course this brings out some deep emotions in Jacob, who doesn't want his love challenged in that way, but he misinterprets it because Anna is clearly emotionally committed to him. She hints, really, I guess, that she may well want the total commitment, but he holds back. Why? Well, there's this fear in males that marriage means, you won't be able to look at what's available. You won't be able to indulge in short-term relationships, to sort of look through what's on offer and have flings. It's dealt with quite sensitively. Then Jacob, working in an office with an attractive assistant, succumbs, and he goes out with her. Then we're in a disco, and he's trying to sort of develop this office friendship, and Anna's sending him texts, and the colleague from the office senses what's happening. It's yeah, wants to get the best of both worlds, one would assume. Interestingly, when I'm watching the scene when Jacob and his office colleague are together, she has certain characteristics visually that are similar to Anna. I don't know whether that was deliberate, but she points out that she's aware of his calls to Anna, but he clearly, his desire for a physical relationship is moving him towards separation on the one hand with his love over the pond, and here in LA his immediate needs. The other girl is Jennifer Lawrence. I didn't recognise her really. She plays Sam, and she of course expresses her love for Jacob. It appears that he's a guy who brings out this in females. Lucky him. So this emotional sort of pain, Jacob takes the initiative and They get married at a registry office in the UK, but then he's got to go back. So although they've now got the status of being married, the feelings don't change. The separation still tests their relationship, and particularly the glimpse that we got of him with Sam may indicate that this temptation will be there when he gets back to the States, if not with Sam but with another girl. This is one of the main issues with men, really. And of course, if we look at other species, of course they tend to sleep around or fuck around when the males, and often have more than one female. But in Western societies, the commitment to a monogamous relationship through marriage appears to be sacrosanct. Well, perhaps that should need to be challenged. Sharing. Examples of that, of course, in other societies around the world, but not in Western societies. So one would assume, by watching the film, that the marriage would allow the bureaucratic doors to open. Violation of a visa can't be processed until that area of the government lifts the ban. Is this idiotic or what? They've got married, they're legitimately married, but nah. I'm sure people have been in this position before. This is when governments ruin people's lives with their bureaucratic bullshit. The prickly subject of Jacob, who's been successful in his furniture design, moved to London as an alternative. He's not exactly enamoured with this idea, because the business is thriving, and of course the income. He's texting about work, but one suspects that the emotions are so strained now that it's quick to put two and two together and get not four, and I'm at a point where I sense that Anna's going to check his email account. Mistrust comes blurting out. A verbal exchange that suggests that both are doubting the insincerity of others, of each other, in the past indiscretions, vulnerabilities. But what of this commitment to the future? Is the past going to bury what possibly could be a lovely future? Adultery is easy. This is something that I think Western societies need to address. This need for immediate gratification, this need to be self-centered, this need to be unable to survive emotionally without these hits. I think that's what just throws up when Anna and Jacob are both guilty of this destructive type behaviour, and that the promise or the ceremony means nothing. It's just a performance, not a real sort of deep felt belief. Anna's fling with Simon then presents a bit of a problem, because Simon buys Anna a gift, and it's one of these office chairs. Of course, the one she was using was a gift by Jacob. So what happens when he comes back and finds the chairs are different? Oh ho ho. Now we're into the phase where we've got to hide things. As I watched the final frames, when the visa problem is resolved and Anna prepares to go to the States, there was a sense of that it was all a bit late, and because of the separate relationships that they've been involved in secretly, that this would all come out once they're reunited, and that divorce was probably inevitable. What do you think? So Anna arrives back to the apartment, and this phase seems to want to draw out the fact that that spark, that excitement, that early part of the relationship has been dampened, even though they've had a period apart. Now, when they come together, there's no spark. It signifies what happens when one has other relationships of a physical nature. It dampens, and this is the recipe for separation.